Everybody, I'd like to call the July 15th Redondo Beach Public Safety Commission meeting to order. Officer Lostrom, may I hear a roll call, please?
Commissioner Commissioner Carmichael.
Present.
Commissioner Gupta is absent. Commissioner Gall.
Here.
Commissioner Kleinbaum is absent. Commissioner Escontrias.
Present.
Commissioner Skiba.
Present.
And Commissioner Wednicki.
Present.
Great. We have quorum. Let's go to saluting the flag and a moment of silence for our public safety workers around the country. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. May I hear an approval for the order of agenda? Any commentary, or do we need to have a motion?
Motion.
So moved.
Second.
That was Commissioner Carmichael, second by Commissioner Escontrias. To approve the order of the agenda, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. So moved.
Great. Thank you. We'll skip E because there's no blue folder items,
Correct.
and we'll go to the consent calendar. May I get a motion to approve the consent calendar and the affidavit of posting along with the approval of minutes for last month's meeting?
So moved.
I second it.
All right, that was a motion by Commissioner Carmichael, seconded by Commissioner Skiba. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Sweet.
And we go to G, which is excluded consent calendar items. And seeing that there probably isn't any,
None.
I'll read the brief boilerplate here on public participation, if I can find my glasses, they're not on top of my head. This section is intended to provide members of the public with the opportunity to comment on any subject that does not appear on this agenda for action. This section is limited to 30 minutes. Each speaker will be afforded 3 minutes to address the commission. Each speaker will be permitted to speak only once. Written requests, if any, will be considered first under this section. So Officer Lofstrom, do we have a written comment
Yes.
email? Go ahead, sir.
Item H, Mr. John Pershland.
Oh, no.
What did you ask me? I'm sorry.
Are there any written like email or comments
Oh,
online?
no, that's second.
Oh, okay, understood. All right,
There's a member of the public who submitted a written request.
copy
speak.
that. Oh, I understand, yes.
We'll do that second, the e-comments and emails.
Hi, John, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you so much.
1 second,
Appreciate
John.
you having me here.
1 second, 1 second. Okay, you can proceed and state your name for the minutes, Secretary.
Okay, my name is John Pershulin, Perchulyn. I live in District 1. I wanted to come here in front of the council tonight to tell you that all of our communications and exchanges and meetings and phone calls, cups of coffee we had with members of the city council and police department have achieved us absolutely nothing in regards to traffic calming on PCH or PV Boulevard and Prospect. There have been some token efforts that have been made. On June 19th, the Redondo Beach Police Department, in conjunction with Highway Patrol, conducted a truck roundup on PV Boulevard. I spent about 3 hours just watching the event. I was thrilled. Many residents passed by and applauded as something was finally being done about the illegal truck traffic. I talked to Officer Lofstrom on the site. Lieutenant Corey King stopped by my house. I told Lieutenant King I had tears of joy in my eyes. The event lasted about 4 hours. However, that was the end of that. To the best of my knowledge, no patrolling or enforcement of illegal truck traffic has been conducted since. 1 week later, I set up my video cameras from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. I captured over 130 tractor trailers and large trucks that traversed the intersection on both streets. So now I have tears of fumes in my eyes instead of tears of joy. On July 1st, I got an email from Lieutenant King with a speed study done with a stealth radar device, which I didn't know anything about, but nevertheless. The device was put up on PV Boulevard in Prospect for 3 weeks. They measured the traffic in all 4 directions, and the report ended with, quote, "They have found no significant speeding issues on these streets," unquote. I shared the data with the neighbors. Several of them had questions. 2 of the main ones were, where was the stealth device placed for the test? The second one was, what were all of the statistics regarding the speed? Because that was not listed in the report I got. I reached out to Lieutenant King with these questions and have yet to hear from him. So in summary, we have around 3,000 tractor trailers and large trucks illegally traveling our neighborhoods every month. We have wannabe drag racers, which I've talked about every time I'm here, taking off from the red lights and stop signs at a rate about 30 to 40 a day and up to 70 plus, I've counted. We have vehicles that gun their engines to beat the red lights, which many of them do not. We have cars constantly going through the stop signs and the avenues. You can ask Tony McGanny, he always calls it in. You guys probably got a book full of his calls. All of this is in a residential neighborhood. We got 3 schools. We got lots of residents walking their children and pets. This is uncalled. We should not have this kind of traffic. So we, the neighborhood, still believe that for safety's sake, we need a traffic calming solution before someone gets seriously hurt or killed. Nothing's been resolved. I'm really here to see if you guys have any additional input you can give us. I don't know where to turn at this point. That's all I got. Any questions?
Do you have one question? I'm sorry.
Are we allowed to have any questions at this
You
time?
can ask a clarifying question about what he said, but you can't have a dialogue.
Correct. Clarifying question. The officer you said, I didn't quite make out the officer's name that told you about the speed report.
Lieutenant King sent me an email about the report, which had statistics of how much traffic traveled in all the directions, and that the 85 percentile speed was 40 miles per hour, which tells me that at 15%, there were 123,734 cars speeding beyond 40 miles per hour.
Wow.
That was not in the report.
I did have a question. I noticed John and Officer Lostrom, a commercial truck sign over by 190th and where Anza begins. Is that a new sign? And John and Kyle, do you see any other signs that are new that are being added warning truckers not to use the area?
That would be dialogue. So you can ask him clarifying questions about what he stated, but not actual dialogue.
Gotcha. Okay, that will be for another time. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Yeah. Can we capture that as a request to staff?
We could probably do something like that. Yeah. Great. Do we have any other people who'd like to approach?
All right. You can proceed to H1.
Great.
And now I will answer your original question,
Thank you.
which is no e-comments and stand by.
Oh, I see written requests if they wrote it down on paper.
Correct.
Gotcha.
No Zoom participants and no written emails. You are clear to proceed.
Great. So items continued from previous agendas. Do we have any?
Negative.
Okay. So we go to items for discussion prior to action. J1 is Harbor Interfaith. All right.
Just state your full name for the minutes, Secretary. Ramon, appreciate it. Thank you, thank you.
Ramon Rendon with Harbor Interface Services.
You're good to go.
Welcome.
Ramon's going to provide an update on some of his statistics for recent period
The pallet shelter. Correct.
and pallet shelter. There you go.
Hi, my name is Ramon Rendon. I'm the director of the pallet shelter. I'm also the Beach Cities coordinator, so I oversee all the homeless logistics that are happening from El Segundo all the way here to Redondo Beach. I've been doing this since 2019. And I came to present on the Redondo Beach Pallet Shelter specifically. So for the last fiscal year, which was July 2023, and it ended just recently, June 2024. So we've had 25 residents enter. 15 residents have exited, with 10 permanently housed, and 5 have chosen to return to the streets. And overall, since the Redondo Beach Pallet Shelter has opened December 2020, we've had 108 residents enter, 99 exited, and 71 permanently housed, 28 not housed, and 2 residents have deceased, died. So the Redondo Beach Pallet Shelter is going to be extended. It's going to be expanded to 45 pallets. Right now we have 20. We are a 24/7 shelter. We have full staff. We are supported by Department of Mental Health, Redondo Beach Homeless FSP. We are supported by the Home Team, which is also Department of Mental Health. We are supported by the Redondo Beach Met Team. Department of Health Services Mobile Clinic comes once a month to ensure that our residents are receiving full physical and mental medical care. And we provide meals. We have Alcoholics Anonymous once a month. We have gardening groups. We have walking groups. We do One Stop. We provide coaching to ensure that people who are able to get back on their feet on their own and become self-sufficient, we connect them with a job and encourage them. We have case management. My office is also on site, and I invite all of you guys to feel free to come visit. Monday through Friday from 7:30 to 4:30, I'm there. And feel free to come by and hang out with the residents or just see a pallet, whatever it is that you guys would like to do.
Yeah. Cool.
That's all I have.
Great. Do we have any questions for Mr. Rendon? Nancy, you want to start?
Sure. When you say there's a certain number left, you mean they just decided not to reside there, or?
So it's either not reside, they've left on their own, or they weren't complying.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So we're working with people who suffer from mental illness, substance abuse. And I think under the mental illness apparatus of things, people will maybe have a fear of like moving out of Redondo Beach, which is why we created a very successful homeless initiative program, which includes Homeless Court, the Redondo Beach Pallet Shelter, and then now Moonstone. Because people were just like, I can't leave, the beach, Redondo Beach. This, for whatever reason, it helps their mental health. The air is better, whatever it is. But we provide 3 housing opportunities within the county, and and it's all give and take. And if they deny all 3, we then request transfer. So then they're not just thrown out on the street. We do offer them shelter. But they can't stay at the Redondo Beach Pallet Shelter because there's other people who are waiting to get in who are willing to be housed permanently somewhere within the county.
And just one more question. Do they also, when they're living at the pallet shelter, do they time out, or they can stay there only so long, or what's the procedure? Yeah.
Our longest resident, who is 78 years old, she just recently got permanently housed in Wilmington. She was there for 21 months.
Okay.
She has no family. She's a senior citizen. I loved her. She was a great person to work with. And she didn't want to leave, but I had to have a discussion with her and let her know that this isn't a place to live. You know what I mean? It's good for your mind temporarily, but long-term, it's not healthy.
Right.
I have a question. What's your definition of permanently housed, in the sense that, is that when they leave and they have housing, or do you do any follow-up, like 6 months, a year later, are they still housed?
Permanently housed when they sign their lease, a year lease.
But is there any sort of follow-up with them to see if they're still housed after a year?
Typically, not on my end. There are jobs out there, which is intensive case management or on-site case managers that will assist them to make sure that they are permanently housed. But I do hear about successes, just like the person I just mentioned. She's still permanently housed. She did reach out to me, and I just step out of my scope of requirements to assist her, just because she trusts me or she's comfortable with me. But a lot of people are still housed. People who have been homeless for 20 years plus, like, let's just say on Inglewood, on the ramp right there, was this person who was homeless there, and Lila successfully housed her. Unfortunately, she passed away just due to health issues. She did pass away in her home. And then other people that have been homeless since I've started are still permanently housed in Inglewood at one of the project-based housings.
Great.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Yeah, so just to clarify then, that it's just like a casual follow-up where people just keep in contact with you. There's no formal follow-up that you do.
Not on our end, no.
Thank you.
We then transfer them over, just like the people who are living in Moonstone, they were formerly our clients and our residents. They now have a new case manager there on Moonstone.
Great, thank you.
A couple questions. Okay, what is more or less the chain of command? Who do you work for? Who do you report to within the city of Redondo Beach?
I send out my statistics to the city attorney's office.
Okay, so you do submit information concerning
Yes.
your work, such, and you've done that, and is that based on the request that the city council made of you for that?
Correct. Monthly. I submit monthly.
Okay, so you are aware that the city council did make a request that you submit certain information to the city to determine that, in fact, that you're a success, that you are working, or what you're doing, okay. When was the last time you were audited
By who?
by anyone?
The last time I was audited by Department of Health Services was in February of this year,
Department of Health Services, okay.
which is our funder.
Is it your primary funder, or is it one of the funding agencies that fund you?
So the county funds, and the county then distributes the money to Department of Health Services. Department of Health Services then distributes to the Redondo Beach Pallet Shelter.
Okay, so you receive funding from the county,
Correct.
and you receive funding from the city,
Yes.
okay? And ultimately, you're responsible to the city, right? Ideally, you're a vendor to the city, right?
Partially.
Okay, and then you get state funding as well?
I'm not aware of that, probably.
But either way, has anybody come in to look at your books and say, okay, this is how much money we've given you, and this is how it's working, and this is where it goes? Is dispersed at all?
Yeah, DHS does an annual audit based on our work.
Okay, and is that available to anyone or anything?
I can get back to you on that.
Okay, thank you. For DHS, okay. But you do submit a monthly report to the city attorney's office?
Correct. I can let you know the outcomes of our audit.
I'm sorry?
I can let you know the outcomes of our audit. We like the findings.
Please, because it is, just so that you understand, my understanding was that, and it appears to me that you were aware of it, is that you're required to submit a report every month to determine, and again, I don't know exactly what's in that report, as more the condition of the city sponsoring or being a part of the program. Okay, but you were supposed to submit it not to the city attorney's office, but to the Public Safety Commission.
I was not aware.
Yeah, well, we'll work that out with somebody else later.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So I just wanted to make sure of that. Okay, now, one other question. Are
That would
you-
be quite a promotion, by the way, but please continue.
I'm sorry?
That would be quite a promotion to get any sort of audit results for the commission that I've seen.
Yeah.
Please continue.
Although it was built in somewhere, I think there was a staff report on that as well. But as long as he's aware of it, he's doing it, so there's compliance.
Great.
Okay, where it goes, I don't think the other thing is, are you a housing first type program?
Correct.
So that means that people can use illicit drugs and alcohol within the platted housing?
Absolutely not.
So it's not housing first?
We support sobriety, but if someone were to have drugs and alcohol in the facility and we found it, we would confiscate it and then put them on a behavioral contract.
Okay, so there is some consequences for that. I'm saying, are you familiar with the term housing first?
Yes.
Okay, which generally means for those that you, no
Our
matter
main goal,
what, you
our
can
main
do
goal is
whatever.
not to
Sorry?
push sobriety on someone. If they're using substances, sometimes I'm like, go forth and use, and they come back with a better attitude.
Right, okay, all right. No, because again, my concern is that, are we facilitating that, or are we giving crack pipes out to people, or anything else like that? Okay, I just want to make sure that whether if we are or not doing any of that type of activity.
Kind of like Switzerland,
Sorry?
kind of like Switzerland.
No, kind of like Los Angeles.
Yes, I've heard that too.
Yeah. Okay, but we don't do that.
No.
Okay.
I started as an outreach worker for the beach cities. I understand their expectations and I understand how the people who live and work for the beach cities think. So I wouldn't allow something like that to infiltrate to the community. I do say that, when people come in. And the state of mind for a homeless individual who's living within the beach cities is completely different than a homeless person in the city of LA and or neighboring.
Yeah, I work Project 50, so I'm well aware of
Yeah,
it.
so I'm not saying that we don't work with people who are struggling with substance abuse and or alcohol. At the same time, there is still a level of respect coming into the Redondo Beach Palace Shelter. And because they're here, they're not in some dormitory, on a mission shelter in downtown LA. They're here.
The Midnight Mission,
Yeah. Huh?
the Midnight Mission.
Yes, Midnight Mission, any of the Weingart facilities,
facility.
any of that, and we do explain to them during the behavioral contract, like this place can be shut down at any given moment due to your behavior. So we can't tolerate it, you know what I mean? Because we do want to respect the community's wishes. I'm sure it took a lot of people, the city, a lot of hard work to get this happened and to get it approved. And so we want to respect that.
I'm sorry, your name again, sir?
Ramon,
Ramon? And you are there
Program
generally
director.
Monday through Friday? And
Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 4:30.
And we're welcome to come by and take a look-see?
Yeah.
Great, thank
Thank you
you.
very much, sir.
Commissioner Carmichael, without further ado.
Appreciate it. One, thank you. Really taking on a lot. We appreciate it. When you think about the turnover, what does that look like? And if you wouldn't mind, can you give us some of the key highlights in the report that you submit to the city? Just some key highlights, just like this, what are the key inflection points that make it a report?
So the first part, you talked about turnover with residents?
Yes,
Like how often or?
yes.
Um,
You're giving like stats
People
and saying
don't wanna
success.
leave.
But, okay.
So they come, they don't want to leave. So it takes a lot for someone to be exited. But I'm pretty strict and I follow a pretty very clear and concise program. And so the report that I do submit to the city, are new, employed, are part of homeless court, if they're document ready, permanently housed, or if we're having some sort of behavioral issue and they're on their way to be referred out. And then we talk about who is employed. We give them that number. We talk about the numbers who have residents that have housing plans. We give them that number. And people who are part of the homeless court program.
Interesting. Okay. Sweet. Thanks.
Commissioner Skiba, go ahead.
Hi, one question. When they are housed, like the lady that went to Wilmington, is this under Section 8 housing or under which kind of a housing program is it?
Is it what?
When they get into housing, like the lady you said moved to Wilmington, are they under Section 8?
They're under, it's project-based. So I wouldn't say it is connected to a voucher. And they are under a housing authority, whether like the one in Wilmington, it's the city of LA.
Okay,
They're connected to that. And obviously like the Moonstone, they're connected to the Redondo Beach Housing Authority.
okay. Thank
I
you.
have one more. You mentioned that it's going to extend from 20 pallet shelters to 45.
Correct.
Can you just walk us through what that's going to look like, what the expansion will look like?
Yes. When the Redondo Beach Pallet Shelter started, it was a pilot program. So when you guys do visit, you're going to see that we are on a public works lot or city works lot, whatever. It's paved. It still looks, according to the residents and people who visit, amazing. But we just have temporary, electricity poles and stuff like that. The city was gracious, and listened to all my emails and gripes about putting in sewage. Just because we were having a hard time with that. And so we do have permanent sewage now. And so the expansion is supposed to happen this fall, and then right next door is a dirt lot that for whatever it is that the city uses it for, they're going to expand over there to that part. And then they're going to put in office space, more office space for staff, and I hope laundry, on-site laundry, and or more permanent restroom facilities.
I had a couple of questions. Of the people that get housing, to what degree do they actually get part-time or even full-time work,
Yeah, they do.
even to subsidize some of the, or pay off some of the subsidies? Would you say it's a significant amount, or would you say they cover everything, or?
No, so they're well, I would say part-time. They start off part-time.
Yeah.
And I believe, from what I recall, a resident from 2 years ago has a full-time job now. And
Wow.
their person, she's a voucher holder. They are working with her in weaning her off of subsidizing her housing. So
Yeah.
you just don't want to take away
Right.
someone's subsidy, because then, it's a shock to the system. And
Yeah.
I'm sure she makes well below average of,
Right.
paying the rent here in LA and California.
Yeah.
So they do work with her. I'm not familiar with the program. She let me know that there's a program, which I was super happy to hear, just so I can tell residents, because they get worried. They're like, oh, I don't want to get a job because I'm not going to have a subsidy and stuff. And
What's an example of a job that you've seen that's progressed to something positive for the person?
yes.
An example of one. I mean, you could be a cashier at Panda Express, but I'm just saying in general.
Well, without revealing too much, so there's
Yeah.
a person who was homeless here in the city of Redondo Beach, became a Redondo Beach pallet shelter resident. They got a Redondo Beach voucher, and then they also work here in the city of Redondo Beach.
Oh,
They live
nice.
here in the north side, and they work at the standing room.
Nice.
So they found their job on their own, and obviously with encouragement, but they did everything on their own. They moved in and just basically just did everything on their own.
Great.
So that's a pretty good. Another resident who wasn't permanently housed worked at the Bay Club. They do find jobs
Cool.
around here.
That's
Uber, Lyft, different things like that.
One other question. Over the years, I've heard of disruptions in that area with people loitering outside the shelter. And I would imagine you probably headed that off with certain policies, and you're probably pretty strict with those policies. And then the other one is any sort of violence that happens at the shelter. For example, there was a stabbing in San Jose, and somebody unfortunately passed away a couple years ago. How are those threats or nuisances handled at the pallet shelter?
So if a resident threatened or then stabbed someone, we definitely would call the Redondo Beach PD.
Of course.
We do have 24/7 security. They are not armed, but they are pretty good at what they do. They do, if there's levels of issues, crisis, and we've had Redondo Beach Pallet Shelter, or Redondo Beach PD come out. We do have the non-emergency line. I don't think we've called, there's never been a 911 call no, there has been one based on violence. And that person was exited. We're still supporting them, but they were exited from the program.
I see.
Yeah.
No metal detector, any like.
They do have metal.
You do have metal. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any other questions?
Yeah, it's been quite informative.
Yeah, it takes a lot to come and visit, and I know that Harbor Interfaith visited a year or so ago, and we thank you for your time, and I wish you a great evening.
Of course, thank you.
Thank you. All right, on to Chief Regan for recent fire events. Go ahead, Chief. Did you bring your data as well?
What's that?
Just bring your data as well.
In my head, I was just looking it up.
Like, he's got no paper, like, huh? No teleprompter?
So I did look up data. Good evening, everybody. Unfortunately, my Jacob is out of town, so I did it on my own. So I was able to get you data for the last 6 months. So obviously, we're 7.5 months in, but to this point, in the last 6 months, we've run 3,921 calls. 73% of them are medical aids. Mutual aid data, we've been given mutual aid 45 times and 17 times we have provided mutual aid. Don't have the,
Sorry, no, give me the numbers again, please.
45 times we've received, somebody's come in and provided mutual aid to us, and 17 times we've given mutual aid.
And you don't have that breakdown between fire and medical?
No, I don't have it broke down between those. I would tell you that of those 45 times when they come in, because I listen to the radio all the time, I would say probably at least half of those times they're canceled en route. So if we have 2 rescues in the city. If those 2 rescues are on a call, which when Citygate did their analysis, I guess it was approximately 7% of the time, there's 3 simultaneous calls in the city. But with that, if a rescue follows up to the hospital and they transport, if it's an advanced life support call, that call can take anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour. Depends on how busy the hospitals are and what the severity of the call is. So a lot of times Manhattan Beach will get dispatched. So if our 2 rescues are already running a call, the next up unit will be called in. Usually it's going to be Manhattan Beach. But by the time they go en route, our guys hustle up pretty good. And they go available before they arrive on scene, or really more times than not before they even get en route. So, but the data gives us what it gives us. As far as significant events, probably 2 things that are significant for us right now. We haven't had a major structure fire since the last time I've seen you, which is a good thing for the city. But we do have a strike team deployed right now up in the Shelby fire. It's up by Wairika. We have 4 members on an engine with an additional 4 engines from surrounding cities. That's how you go together up on a strike team. They traveled up there on Tuesday, so they've been there 6 days. That fire, well, I'm not on there, I get updates. Chief May is also there as a strike team leader. So I think this is maybe his last day as a trainee, but we do have now with our reserve apparatus, we have 1 apparatus in reserve. We'll be sending more teams up on strike teams. So the teams are excited. It's a good service for the city. The city gets reimbursed for those services from the state. So I'd expect kind of a busy season for our guys up there. They're working pretty hard. Like I said, they've been up there 6 days, 12 hours on, 12 hours off, everything from structure protection to, fire lines and stuff like that. So last update I got from Chief May is everyone's in good spirits. The crew's working hard, and they're probably expected the max deployment is 14 days that you can be up there. So it's only 3% contained right now. I guess the fire they're at is 15,000 acres burned. I'm not that familiar with the area, although I was on a strike team up there probably 7 or 8 years ago. So those areas in urban interface, they need resources, so we go out there. We also have a member that is being deployed right now as a public information officer trainee. So when you have these big fires and you have to get information out to liaisons and different newscasts and stuff, there's training that goes on with that. So we have a member out there. He's getting some training in with that. We're also probably going to be sending out fire line paramedics soon. So that's a big push. Our operations team has worked really hard to get these guys their certifications and qualifications to get out. And last year was kind of depressing for the firefighters. They didn't get to go on any strike team deployments because we didn't have the apparatus. Now with the new apparatus we got, we pushed in an older apparatus in reserve. Fingers crossed, if everything still keeps running, we'll send units up there. So, and then of course the 4th of July seemed like a pretty big success. We worked with PD. It was a busy day for the city, but we did obtain the permit from LA County Water Board. So it's a 5-year permit. So we're obviously able to have a fireworks show. The vendors are really good. They complied with all the fire code requirements and stuff like that. So I think us and Marina Del Rey were the only 2 cities in the county that obtained that permit and got that. So a lot of effort went into that. Other than that, we'll probably just answer your questions. Those are kind of the big events in the city. 4th of July was a big focus.
Any questions?
Anybody?
Yes.
Sure.
Is there any, and this may be something, I don't know if you want to go back and discuss with anybody, but any contingency for any type of adjustment, readjustment, or consideration that if Manhattan Beach decides to start questioning the amount of time that their ambulances are coming into North Redondo, and if they decide to either cut that back or question that, I know, I realize that the mutual aid goes to a certain thing, but my understanding is that North Redondo is being serviced by Manhattan Beach more often than not.
When you say more often than not, explain what you mean by that.
By their ambulances and their fire people responding,
They what?
response.
Yeah, I mean, more often than not, when we call for a third rescue,
Right.
they are the third rescue. But like I said, now we're in 6 months, 45 times they called for a third rescue.
6 months?
Max. I just gave you data for 6 months.
For 6 months.
And I said there was 45 mutual aid responses.
45 mutual aid, but you didn't just specify the number of medical or fire.
Yeah, I didn't get that data, but if you do the math, I mean, that's not like
Well, like, I can only do the math if I know,
well, you could do the math to divide 45 times 6, right? How many responses is that a month? It's about 7 times a month, if that's accurate.
Aren't half canceled en route as well?
And cancel.
And
yeah.
canceled en route, so that's maybe once a day. Mutual aid's part of the fire service. Yeah, of course, if they decide they don't want to respond and help us out, then there'll be more conversations with that.
okay, I'm not looking at it as that they don't want to. I think sometimes it's concerning is that we have a plan B that if there's an issue.
Yeah, the plan B is that, so there's all kinds of plans, right? So these are extingent circumstances, right? So you get an extingent circumstance, Manhattan Beach can't respond, right? You
Right.
go to the next closest unit, right? If that closest
Would that be the
unit.
county or would that be?
Yeah, probably.
El Segundo?
County, El Segundo, it depends on the location. North Redondo, it depends on who's available, so you go to dispatch goes. Now, the fire captain on the scene is not gonna stand around for 40 minutes waiting for a unit. Like, so we went through this during COVID. Ambulances weren't available, and this wasn't ALS, this wasn't fire department responses, this was McCormick's. I mean, I literally, as a captain, was on scene, a guy was having a stroke. McCormick's had no ambulances available. And Manhattan Beach was coming in because they had a transport ambulance, but they were 15 minutes away. We were 5 minutes away from the hospital. I wasn't gonna wait 15 minutes for a guy to have permanent damage, so you adapt and overcome. You know, we basically put an engine in front of his vehicle. I drove his vehicle, we had a rescue in between. We drove 3 minutes to get into the ambulance and get life-saving treatment. Like, you do what you can do. LA County policies also allow you, if you have an EMT ambulance there and you're waiting for an ALS unit, all of our engines have paramedics on them. So we have the ability in an extingent circumstance to throw our medic in McCormick's ambulance, go to the hospital and take our medic out of service, right? Go to a 2-person engine. So those are the backup plans, and that's not, it's not abnormal for any fire department. Just like an MCI, if we get an MCI, we're not gonna get, it's not gonna be 20 paramedic rescues for 20 patients.
Right.
We're gonna adapt and overcome. We may throw 2 patients in an ambulance, we may have our medics break off, patients will go in a cop car, we'll make it happen, right? So that's kind of how it is. Yes, they do come, Manhattan Beach does come to us more. If data supports at some point, we get a third rescue or something, we're all about it. But if these numbers are 100% accurate or whatever, anything close to that, I mean, if you're talking about like 1 response a day, and half the times they get canceled for that, I don't see that as like a earth-shattering number at this point. But who knows, as infrastructure builds on the far north end of town, maybe that leads to repositioning of apparatus and stuff like that. They'll continue to do studies and surveys for, the best response times. Right now, that far north end of Redondo, the call volume doesn't quite support repositioning an apparatus, and that was part of the City Gate survey, and they showed all that. So where our stations and apparatus are placed is pretty much, it showed it was the most efficient at this point in time for responses. But that could always change. And
Thank
yeah,
you.
for sure.
And was there a follow-up as well to the employee wellness program?
Follow-up.
You indicated that you had some organization that possibly was going to come in, but.
Yeah, no, I
didn't
don't
really-
have any further.
Is there someone within your organization who runs your wellness program who possibly can give us an update?
I'll have to look into it. I'm not sure. We've kind of, to be honest, we faded a little bit with our wellness committee with all the other stuff going on, but
Right.
yeah, I don't know. I remember there was talk about maybe some program that was coming in. I think it's probably more for this fiscal year, and I don't have any additional information on it.
Thank you.
I'm just curious about something really quick. Suppose Manhattan Beach's mutual aid to Redondo cost Manhattan Beach $50,000. And at the end of the year, when they were doing taxes and writing stuff off, the city managers got together and said, hey, you owe me this. Or how does that work in terms to balance out
I
the
don't, you know,
accounts?
I don't know. I don't think that, you're saying it cost them $50,000?
Labor, dispatch, fuel, equipment time and so forth. Is there ever anything that significant between the cities where it's like, wow, we lost $50,000 this year helping out Redondo for Manhattan?
I don't know. I'm not aware
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
From my experience, mutual aid is just.
I think there's an MOU for mutual aid.
Yeah, there's an MOU. And you're required-
MOU, yeah.
Yeah, you're required, hey, you get a second alarm. These are the units that are coming in from mutual aid. In our MOU, there's mutual aid, there's automatic aid, and you're expected to respond. So it's just part of your contract service.
Makes sense, Chief.
Yeah, I'm not aware of I've never heard of somebody asking for money because they've gone to your city a little bit more often.
Understood.
But yeah, I mean, I will say this, and that's why a lot of times Manhattan Beach is canceled en route, that our paramedics versus when I first started, you got some guys that hustle up really hard. So it's very rare that they don't become, if they're not available, it's because, they had a life-saving incident of their own. But they work hard to clear at the hospital. We got iPads now compared to when I first started and you were handwriting reports.
Jeez.
It prints out at the hospital. So things are moving quicker. And they tend to get available pretty quick.
Go ahead, Nancy.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have a question. I'm just curious. Let's say there's a patient who is having a stroke and your paramedics pick them up. Do they administer any kind of anti-stroke medication on the way, or does that have to happen at the ER?
At one point, there was like a fast mag medicine that we used, and it was a trial period with the county, but LA County
see.
doesn't have medications
Yeah.
necessary for stroke. I mean, honestly, the best way to treat a stroke is to drive fast and get them to the hospital.
Yeah, really.
Get a large bore IV, so then they can go and do their imaging and stuff, and they're gonna save their lives there, not
Okay.
necessarily infield treatment,
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions from the side?
I've been thinking about this. I walk the power lines every night and I pass that station on Grant.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember Commissioner Gupta mentioned the earthquake retrofitting issue. And I think about that all the time when I walk by that station. Has there been any follow-up on your end about that?
About if we have earthquake.
No, just
seismic-
like if there's any plan in place to retrofit the station.
I mean, yeah, there is a plan. There's actually a plan in place city council's going for a bond measure to replace the stations.
Okay.
So that's the big focus. I think and I can't speak for them 100% outside of going to the council meetings and listening to what they're doing. The bond measure is really their big focus, especially for the public safety buildings. The fire stations are over 60 years old, I think 70-something years old. So that's the focus. If for some reason that doesn't go through, then there'll be some kind of retrofit. They're doing comfort, creature fixes in the station right now. Public Works is working their tail off. They were at Fire Station 1 today trying to get air conditioning units for our captain's office because it's pretty hot. And there's stuff like that they're doing. But I'm not aware of, they're replacing the roofs and stuff like that. So they have projects that they're working on, a part of the capital improvement plan. And then obviously the big goal is to replace the stations, but they have to get that bond measure passed. And I don't know how long that takes and stuff like that.
It's on the agenda for tomorrow night if you want to come.
There you go.
Details at 11. Commissioner Carmichael?
I have two questions. The second one I can't remember, so I'm going to go with the first one. From a personnel perspective, as a part of that report, there was an inference that there was a deficiency, particularly from an administrative perspective. Where are you all from a reality perspective? Like, are you
Yeah,
set?
so we've gotten more administrative staff.
Okay.
You're looking at one of them right now. They moved me to an administrative chief position 10 months ago. So when they started that study, it was showing the lack of administrative staff, and they've gotten positions. We also got a training captain, which is administrative based. I mean, everybody thinks training, and the captain does a great job. He's out there with the guys and girls doing, all the kinds of training. But the administrative portion of it is a 40-hour work week where, the documentation of our training, everything we have to do from JAC reports and stuff like that to get reimbursed funding to truly documenting what we're doing. So if a member has to be released, we have all the documentations done correctly. Or if a member's doing a good job, the evaluations have really stepped up a lot since I first started. So yeah, they have increased our administrative staff. So we're better in that sense. I mean, we'll probably always take more, but it's moving in the right direction in that sense between the fourth chief, division chief, and then the training officer. Those are two very big positions that, to be honest with you, a few years ago, I never thought we'd get. So that's a big plus. I got hired 12 years ago, and they were talking about a training officer since the day I got hired. It never happened. The team and city council approved everything, so that's a big step in the right direction for us.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I argued that against the report, and I didn't know.
What's that?
I argued that point against the report. I didn't know whether or not it was true, but it sounded good, so I'm glad to hear it was actually true.
Yeah, no, I think when they wrote the report, things were being done to improve.
That's what
So,
that was more our argument. I forgot my other question. It was a good one, too. It was a really good one, but.
Any other final questions?
You said guys and girls.
I know you can do that, yeah. So, yeah, we don't officially have a female firefighter today, so I think there's a good chance that could happen at some time.
Oh, actually, that actually brings me to our question. Do you all put out a rec and you had like 200 applicants? How did that go
Went great.
ultimately? Where do we
signed
land?
2 members, just started, I think they're about 3 weeks in. So, yeah, when it comes to the firefighter EMT positions, which we typically don't have those positions, we only have 1 spot on the department, entry level, that you don't need a paramedic license for. So that's a 4th member of the truck. Yeah, so we have to cut that. Applicants come really quick as opposed to when you need a paramedic license. Paramedic school's costly, it's time consuming, you need experience to get on there. So we cut the application period off at like 3 days. I think we had 250 applicants. So, we're not going to interview 250 applicants. Like space game. I had to narrow that down objectively, not subjectively, on how you can narrow it down to 60 people. And it was based on degrees and firefighter 1 certificates and some experience and stuff like that. So we interviewed approximately 65 people. And there was nothing but positive feedback. So we offered 3 positions. 2 people started. 1 person's going to start probably in a month or 2. I don't know the exact date because some of these members had jobs in different agencies. So the time period is different. But we had some great candidates, and I'm really happy with the people we chose. Probably, I think the top 18 came in for chief's interviews. I had the first, I interviewed all 18, and eventually they went to Chief Butler, and we had some really good candidates. People that we hired, I think, are going to do a really good job. And we don't have too many positions open anymore. So we'll do a paramedic test probably in a few months here, and it might be 2 spots or so. And we'll be fully staffed for the first time in my career.
Wow, that's great. Are there any other questions for Chief?
Yeah, I just have one.
Go ahead.
And I'm not going to look at you when I say it. None of these 3 were women, were they?
Okay.
None of the 3 hired were women, were they?
The 2 hires that started are men, and then the 3rd person, when they start on the floor, you'll see. But yeah, so we can't give out too much information, but we, obviously when you have an EMT firefighter test, you have a chance. We just don't, in my time doing interviews, the candidate pool is not there, and I've interviewed for agencies all over the place, not just Redondo Beach. There's not a large percentage of females applying for these positions, so. That's the answer to why we generally don't have applicants.
They get less credentialed positions that
What typically happens is, and I don't know, probably 3% of applications all over the world are females to get in that industry. It's not a large applicant pool, but with our agency, you have to have, we don't put somebody through a 16-week academy when you get hired here. You have to go through a 16-week academy, State Fire Academy, prior to getting hired. That gives you a qualification that meets our minimum standards. And most smaller fire departments do that. You'll have to do that, and then we'll put you through a smaller academy orientation. We go 2-4 weeks, depending on how many people are getting hired. And then most of our positions also require a paramedic license, right? So a lot of times, if you're a female candidate, you'll get opportunities before that. That's just the reality of it. LA City will hire you with, or LA County, they hire 200, 300 people, and they don't require a medical license for fire academy. They put you through their 20-week academy and teach you their way. So they have a little bit more liberty to do less requirements to get in.
Of the ones who applied, how many were female?
I don't know if I can actually say that information, but a very low percentage.
Okay.
All right, if that's fair.
That's fair.
Very, very little. There was females that applied this time, and that got interviews. And So it was there, but it was a very small amount, less than 5%.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
All right.
Great, thanks. Have a great evening.
Thanks, Chief.
All right, let's go to J3, the discussion of crime recap and community policing and volunteers. Officer Lostrom, hello.
Hello, Commission. In addition to what you see in the crime recap, I do want to talk about 4th of July. Obviously, a big day since we last met for law enforcement. Between the 5K in the city, the high level of patronage to Redondo Beach all throughout the day, and then, of course, the fireworks show in the evening. It is a department-wide mandate, so pretty much everybody works between covering the race and all those necessities to have an entire race course blocked off in the morning, all the way to all the traffic control to safely flow out the mass exodus of traffic that occurs at the conclusion of the show. You may have seen me happily riding a bicycle the whole day. We'll go into some of the requests that were made. So there was a request to write communication to the city manager, city council regarding some clarification on pallet shelter updates, et cetera. I wrote the memo and sent it, just awaiting a reply. Still, some statistical information that was requested last meeting was 60 days of traffic stop information for the area of PV and Prospect. In a 60-day span that we pulled, there was 57 traffic stops, 26 advised, which is like a warning, and 26 citations, and 4 DR reports, which usually means like some sort of misdemeanor citation or arrest of some kind. And then 1 was cleared checks okay, and that's potentially something observed ended up being okay, or something that looked like impaired driving ended up being okay, or whatever the case may be. And then there was a citywide 60-day request for bicycle stop information. There was 248 in 60 days citywide. 91 was advised. 1 was checks okay. So again, that's kind of a similar thing. Like sometimes we stop somebody and it's not necessarily appropriate for cite or warn, but just, hey, this actually ended up not being what could have been suspicious, and whatever the case may be. 122 citations, 17 DR reports, which is again, typically a misdemeanor or above, some sort of citation or arrest. 12 FI cards, 2 other and 2 hospital transports, which have been some sort of, medical complaint or something. Sometimes people we stop do complain of medical or just coincidentally need some medical attention of some kind. And then that first one is in addition to our June 18th traffic and commercial enforcement detail at the area, basically south of the intersection of PV and Prospect, which resulted in 14 commercial citations during the CHP assisted commercial truck stop, 10 speed violation citations, 3 stop sign violations, and a cell phone violation. It was a 4-hour period on the 18th, as well as what I had just brought up prior to that. And then moving on to the community services, community policing report, excuse me. We had a pop-up coffee with a cop June 15th down in the Esplanade. Our bicycle rodeo on the 29th, we had about 40 attendees, all age ranges, more so the younger age ranges. We had a visit to Lincoln Child Development Center where we do snow cones and we bring Cadbury, our facility canine, and we had a UCLA blood drive on July 11th in the library. Didn't see any of you there, not just saying, no offense. Just kidding. I will say that this has been, I found somewhat of a talent for recruiting people to donate blood. This was extremely successful. They gave me 68 appointments. I filled 66 appointments, but based on some sort of algorithm and some issue with their supplies and not avoiding waste with these blood bags that come in packs that can't be opened or you can't use, there's some sort of algorithm they run. So they only bring 75% of the bags of the appointments that you actually book because they anticipate no-shows. But they don't anticipate Kyle Offstrom because I got 59 people to show up. Some walk-ins were turned away, but I filled every single one of the 54 blood bags that they brought. Would have had 59, just saying though, if they had brought enough bags.
Are you the new
But
closer?
shout out to them. They're very great to work with. I really like working with UCLA. I do a UCLA one in July and a Red Cross one
That's good work.
in January. Upcoming events, there's a senior safety talk on Wednesday at 10 a.m. at the Perry Park Senior Center. The LA County Police Canine Association Canine Show at the high school. We're doing a special guest reading at the library for the kids on August 5th. And we have National Night Out on August 10th, 2024. It says 4 to 7 p.m., but it's 4 to 8 p.m. At the Redondo Beach Performing Arts Center. That is all about police community partnerships. We showcase all our cool stuff and let outside entities come in and showcase or do giveaways or vend or exhibit.
Free tacos?
As well as there's taco trucks,
No.
churros, shave ice, and a dunk tank, which will have several high-ranking members of the city police department and fire department. So
It's good to put on your resume.
that's right. You can dunk the high-ranking people. And then we are doing a run, hide, fight training for our crossing guard staff on the 19th. Volunteer and policing report, 206 hours of service in June of 2024, totaling 1,847 hours of service for the year. Big shout out to our volunteers. I love them. They do work for free. A lot of stuff that we don't have time to do or don't want to do.
Yeah.
So I appreciate them. And that so concludes J3.
Wow. Nothing crazy going around town, huh? Fire, police, it's been pretty slow and steady.
We're awesome.
That's great. Well, you're awesome. Both of you. Thank you for your time.
We do our best, I should say.
I know. Always improving. Doesn't matter who you are. Any referrals to staff? Let's start with Commissioner Escontrias.
I just have a couple questions. Wellness program follow-up?
Yep, you guys are giving me lots of work, so I'm knocking it out as I get it on what seems urgent, so that's still on my to-do list. If you leave me nothing this evening, I can put that at the top of the list.
I think that was from several months ago.
Yes, other things have just come up that seem to be more interested in based on the commission. I generally just go off of kind of how you guys are vibing. But yes, I do have it on my list.
Okay.
It's actually the only remaining thing at this time.
Well, I believe I also asked concerning about any type of training that you guys provide concerning First Amendment audits. That we may or may not have encounters.
Yeah, I did write that down. I don't know if
Well,
I got a
sovereign
chance to
citizen
speak
issues.
about it. We get training regularly and there's bulletins sent out to the department. Typically, anytime we have an incident, they'll reissue the training bulletins.
Is it possible so that we can take a look at that bulletin just to kind of see where it's at?
I don't know if it's public information. I don't,
Oh.
I truly don't.
Can you check?
Yeah, sure. And you know, I typically.
I think the question came up last time was what the question was about concerning, are you familiar with First Amendment audits?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they'll understand that if it does occur, that we are not going to incur some liability or some type of.
Yeah, we're pretty good about it, thankfully.
Make sure.
Who would have
It's
to
fairly
vote?
few and far between.
Yeah.
And it's typically noticed, right? I mean, that call for service goes out and there's usually a supervisor en route already and phone calls are made and.
Are you aware of whether or not the city itself has put out a policy on that or just you guys?
I mean, we deal with it like we deal with anything else. We have had training bulletins on it as they come up. Just like anything, like there was, you probably recall, there was a lot like based on people soliciting at like an open for business plaza. but still private property, and there's been like repeated overturning case law. We get training bulletin updates
Wow.
because we get calls a lot on that, things like that. But generally speaking,
I understand the solicitation one is something that's a little bit different as far as,
no, yeah, that was just
what
an
I'm referring
example
to is
of,
somebody who walks into City Hall with a camera and is videotaping and being told whether or not they had to leave or not.
I don't know if the city does. We provide training to law enforcement on the PD side, because typically that's
Okay.
who everyone calls when
Same
that
with the
happens.
sovereign citizens issues? Okay. One other thing is, does the department provide and have after-action reports for any type of major incident, issue or incident that occurs? A
Yeah,
written after-action report that delineates
Yeah,
number of
there's-
officers deployed,
yeah,
issues, actions, and such like that.
yeah.
It does.
Yeah, like for major, like 4th of July, the Super Bowl 10K,
Right.
or if there's like, obviously like an extremely like large incident, like an Oscar Mall shooting, something like
Like
that.
beach life.
Beach life, yes, yeah.
And are we privy to that as well?
That I don't know.
Can we check, please?
Sure.
Would the chief have to release that info, or would that be city council?
It could just be confidential, like on the law enforcement side.
Yeah,
Generally speaking.
I don't know what's subject to FOIA and what's not, obviously, like,
Well, the whole thing is subject to FOIA. The thing is, I don't believe it's a tactical issue on there because you're not putting any type of tactical
anything that
considerations.
goes into the commission agenda is basically being released to the public. That's why. I wouldn't
Exactly. And we're
necessarily
California.
placed into
FOIA
it.
is not our word.
I wouldn't necessarily place it into a commission agenda. I'm not saying it wouldn't
No,
necessarily fall under FOIA or not, but I don't
FOIA
know.
is not our word. And the whole Republic of California, FOIA is not our word. It's Public Records Act. It's PRA. It's not FOIA.
PRA,
PRA, Public Records.
subject to public record requests.
all right, I'm gonna make a note and do a Wikipedia.
I
on
did
that.
have one quick
FOIA
question.
sounds cool, though.
It does. It really, really, really does. But we get chastised for
public record-
stuff
it would
that's
be a
on
public
our
records
record.
request of some kind.
We get chastised for stuff that the person who typed up the thing. So I just want to make sure we were saying the right words.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Commissioner Skiba?
Well, I did want to ask, but it's okay. It's about the senior event you mentioned, senior safety. Can you explain that a little bit?
Generally, it's just like kind of a Q&A, and it's
Oh, I
mostly
see.
related to like scam stuff.
I
It's
see,
not-
okay,
I know you're waiting for our self-defense class, but no, that would just generally be like how to avoid scams, how to just generally be safe and aware
Right.
out and about doing your normal thing.
Yeah.
That training is good for any age. And yeah, if you're doing that, let me know next time when you have it. That'd be great. Commissioner Carmichael, did you have anything else, Nancy?
Are they going to have another run, hide, fight for the public anytime soon?
Yes, I'm just busy, but I will do it soon.
Will you
I will
invite
do
us?
it at a point where I know that I'm not going to be too busy doing other stuff. So it might end up in January again, because that's
Okay,
somewhat open.
okay.
And I know it's been a year since the last one, but can I say I'm just in high demand?
You're a one-man show.
You are.
Yeah. It was
Gotcha.
very well received and
Good.
popular though, so
Wasn't it?
I do have interest in doing that again.
Quality over
Yeah.
quantity. Gotcha. Commissioner Carmichael?
RBPD Teens in Policing Summer Program. How's that going? What's that?
Spectacular.
Oh, really? Like, what is that? It's all over my calendar.
We have
do
18
intend
kids
to
in the
show up.
class. We are currently approaching week
3 or 4?
4. So there's like an intro class where they meet the chief and I kind of cover the class and do a little introductory kind of fun thing because the parents are there too and it gets their minds. I think I don't want to reveal too much, but and then week 2 is our traffic stop scenario week. Week 3 was canine. They just did SWAT and building searches last week, and this week I believe is TAC Med. So they get the Stop the Bleed training and get their Stop the Bleed certificates from one of our certified instructors.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And then lastly, how are we doing with e-bikes? Is that still hot topic? Are we
Highly
done all
active.
Okay.
Multiple enforcement details. As you can see, I mean, that was just a 60-day period, and we had 100, 122 citations.
Wow.
So 2 tickets a day at least.
All right.
As far as reaching people to just get them not to break the law in the first place, I'm struggling.
I have a question, a follow-up to that.
Yes.
Because, a lot of one-way streets in North Redondo, and a lot of the teens will take, especially my street, the wrong way.
Yep.
And it's terrifying for when you're turning that corner and they're coming full speed at you. Is there any sort of like signage that you've thought of creating for neighbors to put in their yards or along the street to kind of remind them that they're going the wrong way? Or to follow the
All the
rules of the
one-way
road?
streets are labeled with signage that say this is a one-way street, do not enter.
More directed towards teenagers on e-bikes.
We don't have a plan in place. I don't, they just do it. It's a violation, so if we see it, you can tag them with a
Right.
site. But no, I'm not aware of any planned extra signage. I mean, there's 477 signs that say
Yeah.
walk your bike under the pier substation on
Wow.
the pier, and people just ride their bike through every day. And there's
Yeah, of
like
course.
different
I've been pulled
colors,
over there.
different fonts, a giant digital
Really ring me out,
signboard
too.
Right.
that says you will get a fine if you don't walk your bike, and people are just like, no, it's cool. So the overall attitude towards lower level laws is definitely reached a unique paradigm.
Is there another city that you've seen with a magical sign that's directed towards teens that illustrates
I do
that?
see a lot of, I work in Santa Monica.
Right.
And they are very big on their signage, like
Sure.
yard signs that they'll create for the public.
Oh, there was one campaign for Drive Slow Redondo, which is just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not just like driving slow, but overall traffic safety. And we've
Also has those a lot.
produced
That's what I was
many and
thinking,
handed them
something
out.
like
And
that, but
they're,
for-
can we do that? They're all over, and they have a
On the
cute little
road.
snail, and it says on wheels that says Drive Slow Redondo.
Yes.
So those are all over the place, and we're ordering more as we speak. So there's that, but I don't know if that's
I think that
more
would be,
effective than anything else. I don't know. But that would fit the description you just brought up, yes.
Yeah, something similar. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And then I just had one more question, and I'm not sure if this is the right place for it, but is there a way for us to get a copy of the stealth device speed test results that you was?
What I do know about it is, I only know very little information about it. I don't know what the plan is as far as how available they'll make it to the public, but I do know that the average speed on Prospect for each direction was 28 and 26. And that was over a 3-week period. And I believe that one had a sample of upwards of 220,000, if I recall correctly, cars. And then the average speed for the PV Boulevard segment was also about a 3-week period. And I think that one had 170-something cars. And the average speeds for each direction were 26 and 29. So, I mean, there's always outliers, but.
Outliers are the ones to look at, not the median and the
Oh,
average.
right, yeah.
But I think the issue also comes up, especially in that is terribly flawed, or appears to be anyway, is that I live right off Prospect, and I don't think anybody goes 26 miles an hour.
Yes.
It would depend on where you would place that.
If you want, there's anecdotal and there's
Well, then I would
statistical
venture to
evidence,
say,
I know.
then let's ask for the whole study. Let's look at it, let's evaluate it and determine if you put that device on the second telephone pole, of course, cars at 26 because they're getting up there, in whichever direction. But I would venture to say is that the traffic on Prospect anyway has gotten a heck of a lot better. Enforcement has gone there and such, but that by all means, it doesn't mean that the average thing, there's no way. I would venture to say I very strongly do not
I mean,
believe.
if you want to volunteer to stand out there and give us your averages, I
tell you
don't know
what,
I don't know what more I can give besides the statistical
Well, I
data.
No, the statistic is to look at and analyze the data. That's how we can do that.
It would be nice to look at both sets of data and compare.
Compare.
Yeah.
And as we look at the data to determine where did you put that signage to be able to determine as to where it's at.
Yeah.
Now, if you put it, say, for example, say on Prospect, by
On the
facing
incline.
northbound, okay, for southbound traffic, by Avenue C or D, I don't believe you're going to get anybody going 26 miles an hour. If you put it a block away from Nob Hill, of course you're going to get 26 miles an hour.
Yeah.
The placement of it is also determining. Is how
I don't know if we have the time and resource to just place it every single place that somebody wants until it says that people speed a lot. I don't.
No, I'm not saying that we put it to where we want to manipulate this, no. I think what we want to be able to do is because it would appear that if we look at where it's at, then we can determine that it's there.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, I would look at it this way, and I don't want to sound very rude with you.
Then please don't.
Okay, I'll try not to.
No, don't try.
Time, place,
There's no
and
try.
money, okay? It seems in this city, when it benefits certain people, you guys, the city throws money every which way
Right.
when it benefits them. This man already got hit.
Are you referring to somebody?
No, I'm talking about in the city in general. Because you just said, is it worth the time and the effort?
No, I'm just saying, I don't know if we have the resources to put it spend weeks and weeks at each,
no,
14
I'm
different
not-
places and it's in a,
How about it where
quarter-mile stretch of-
John
Well, no,
was-
I have a question,
Go
actually.
ahead.
That is more, I think has anyone just looked, you said an average speed, right?
That was the average speed of every
Correct.
car that drove past the device for a certain
Correct.
period of time, 3 weeks, I believe.
But has it been analyzed for timeframes, like maybe certain timeframes, there's an increase in speed? And so that way you can tailor enforcement to maybe on Tuesdays during this timeframe, we see an increase. Has it been looked at in that way?
I would say the information there is not going to say anything that's not already known. There's more speed when there's more cars. The busier times of day, like in the morning and in the evening when people get off work or are going to work. Obviously, like if there was an outlier, you could guess that maybe an outlier occurred when it was much more possible to have an outlier. So if there was like a 3 mile an hour, right, was there a traffic accident on the road? If there was a extremely high speed, was it at 2, 3 in the morning? Or, you know what I mean? So I think generally speaking, we have the information we need if that were to tell us anything about where to enforce, yeah, for sure. Generally speaking, I think it's kind of almost like common sense, but this would only just give us more information on that and would have some impact on enforcement, surely.
Nancy, did you have a comment?
I'm sorry. Can I follow up with that? I want to finish.
I think actually she started the question,
Right.
and then you interceded.
Okay, then
So
then
she
I
gets the
will
choice of
withhold
who she
until-
wants to yield
Until you
to.
call on me again.
Go
If you-
go ahead. Your
I
turn.
have just one follow-up question.
Yes, go ahead.
So are we allowed to see the results of that speed test?
I don't know if they have any plans to
Okay.
share anything. I don't.
Is that something
That
we
was
can
just
ask?
something I happened to know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Nancy?
Okay, thank
And
you.
McGill, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, I wonder if we can make it a referral to staff for them to do one of these tests for Artesia Boulevard, because Artesia is a speed track. I mean, if you're over near, where the Carl's Jr. is, near Blossom, they come flying eastbound at high speeds.
Yeah.
And they won't even let people finish crossing the street without almost running them over. They won't even take
People do
a-
get killed,
They won't
yes.
even, that zone right there between Renge and the library has had terrible accidents. I've seen big SUVs even jump the median and going the wrong direction and everything.
Yeah.
I used to live on that corner, and I mean, it was like nothing but accidents all the time. Well, anyway, and then also eastbound if they're going east from Renge, if you're ever at one of the red lights and you're just waiting to get back on Artesia, they're flying past like they're going 60 miles an hour, 50, 60 miles, zoom, zoom, zoom. It's just continuous. And it's the morning, it's the afternoon, and they're just wild. I mean, it's very dangerous. I'm surprised they don't have more accidents. Maybe they could check the speeds on that street, just out of
I
curiosity.
don't know if that would be like a referral
I
to
don't know
like
if it would be, yeah.
liaison staff about the Public Safety Commission, maybe just like an email to like the Traffic Division.
Yeah, maybe
making that
something like
request.
that. Maybe they
Obviously,
could-
they have their their
Yeah,
operations.
yeah, something
et
like
cetera,
that, because
but-
Artesia is just dangerous. It's terrible, yeah.
The traffic desk at Redondo Beach PD is very responsive to phone calls. I
Yeah.
suggest everybody do their research and find some good contacts in addition to these two officers here. They're excellent.
Right, right.
There
Nancy,
are
did you
more
have
of us.
anything else?
No, that's all. I just would like to see them make it safer there.
Commissioner Escontrias?
Yeah, I would more venture to say is that, rather than speculate as to what did or did not occur concerning a survey, that we be able to see the survey and also make a determination from there as to how it was conducted. Like any statistical type of document, I mean, obviously, it can be manipulated both pro and con,
Right.
or it can be just in general that we want to be able to do it. I think John is also concerned about that. He's asked. My understanding, he's asked 3 times and nobody's gotten back to him concerning as to what that was. I don't believe there's anything tactical in that issue or to a point somehow that it's confidential in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, it's not, I know, it's not my,
Right, so therefore, I don't see why
not really under my purview.
him or us to get that. Again, my point earlier was in response to you saying, well, time and effort. And I've seen the city in general, where they'll spend money on a lot of things. But right now, I think what we're talking about is safety. People getting hurt, and we already had that already on that intersection. We've had the fire hydrant sheared off already, okay? John's been asking for this information, or not
I
only,
think he was given some of the information.
I see.
no, the information that he was given is exactly what you gave us.
Right.
Which does not dispute that point. He was given some of the information.
So no, well, what I'm saying is that, well, it's like saying, well, I gave you something, so be happy.
No, it's a little different. That's a little
Okay,
different.
I just want to make sure
He
that
said he should be given some information, and he said he was given some of the information. So
he was given the same
So
information he gave us.
Him not being satisfied with the information is different, like we're moving the goalpost. But let's be, I don't want to get written up
Okay. I will
But I
yield.
think your point is well made. Hey, can you check and see if there's any information that for us would be substantive and that we could sort of review and go, oh, okay, I see that you did X, Y, and Z.
Right.
And for us, if you would do A, B, and C, it would make this right. So we need to, I think to your point about, not being rude or whatever, I think we need to more shift to a what if we versus an accusatory, I'm sure you didn't. Because that's how it's feeling like we're coming across. I'm sure you didn't consider this. I'm sure you didn't put it in the right place. I'm sure you didn't.
no, I'm not sure of anything.
So, but your assertions
Okay,
come
but
across
then I
that
will
way. Hold
retract
on.
any
Whoa.
assertion.
I did not interrupt you a single time.
But you
while you made
accusatory of what I'm
all of your points and even needed to preface with, you're not going to be rude. But now you're being rude.
But you've interrupted
Hold
mine.
on.
I did not yield.
Can we stop? This is not
I didn't
the
yield.
appropriate, it's not the
did not
appropriate
yield. You
forum.
interrupted me.
Gil, it's not the appropriate forum. Thank you, Chair, I appreciate that. You guys could yield to the gavel.
Sure.
Thank you. Chair,
Any
you can
final
carry on.
referrals to staff? Well, great. There are elections, I believe, in September for chair and vice chair. I really appreciate the efforts of the commission to bring very pertinent issues to this commission for action. And actually, it's gotten a lot better over the past year or two versus looking at emails and so forth and trying to be reached out to as direct contacts when we have a wonderful police, fire, and city attorney staff. But I just want to say it's been a pleasure working with all of you, and we'll continue on for another year, but look forward to seconding any motion for chair or vice chair if it's not me, and everybody else was my second choice anyway. But I wish you all a great summer, and see you in August and also September. And this meeting is adjourned at 8:19. Thank you all.
Thank you.